Business Focus with Kudzie, Sharara on the Champion League Breakfast.
Welcome to Business Focus right here on Capital, where we discuss what's happening in the world of business with Kudzie Sharara. As always, you have questions,
great.
Drop them up on 0719 100404. Kudzie will help us to break them down right here on Capital. Good morning to Kudzie, how are you?
Thank you, Tinashe.
Good morning, Tinashe. Good morning, everyone.
Great.
Been on a downward trajectory of late.
Lovely.
But
Let's
again,
begin
you
by
remember
looking at
yesterday saying
the
that
Zimbabwe
some of
Stock
the stocks
Exchange
were now
trading
looking
update
cheap
for
because
Friday.
of the devaluation. And sometimes investors tend to then look at that and say, okay, I need to get into this into these shares. And however, yesterday it recovered probably because of that kind of demand from those who are seeing opportunities to buy shares at a much lower level. And counters the Ocean Index was up by a margin of 0.88%. And then the top 10 index are doing even better with a 1.3% gain. The top riser, which helped the market close positive, CB's days losses putting on 14.94%, putting on 14.6%, 10 RTG results, and just looking at the occupancy levels at their hotels are really putting on strong 4.39%. Then also, the market was however not short of losers. There are still other counters that are coming off by 9, BAT being the biggest loser, down by 9.55%. There wasn't much money, which we'll talk about later, also coming off by 4.18%. I'm not sure whether investors were not happy with the numbers that were released by the company, but we'll get to hear more later on. Unifreight down by 4.15%, NMB and SBC also getting a sizable chunk of the funds that also down by 3.4%. And then, however, the market was not short of losers. NMB being the biggest loser with a 12.86% shares in Delta losing 10.12%. Mikus shedding 2.94%. Hands in Delta, I'm not sure what's happening there. Econet also about $1.2 million worth of shares changing hands. And then the VFX down by 1.5%. That recently released how the Zimbabwe its results performed yesterday. Just a bit of some ahead of obviously how they performed. Is expected to deliver. Here's a state of the economy address, state of the nation address rather. So when you compare it's going to be delivered today at around 1 p.m. versus June 2023. President Mnangagwa. So it will be interesting to hear his views and his analysis of the economic environment so far, as well as other areas. And then in terms of profitability, also significantly down there for Unifreight.
All right, thanks Kudzie for that one. As always on a Wednesday, we've got the CEO's Wednesdays right here on the Business Focus on Capital. And of course, today we are going to be talking to one of the CEOs. And remember, most of the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange listed companies have released their half-year results. Some pretty good, some not so good. And today we are going to be talking to the CEO of Daily Zimbabwe. Is one of those companies, and that is listed on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. And we'll be speaking to Messi Ndoro, the only CEO, a female CEO of a listed company on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange.
In the second quarter of the year.
Good morning to you, Messi, and welcome to Business Focus right here on Capital.
That's Zimbabwe's there. Mikus also down by 2.94%. Unifreight, I spoke about it, down by 1.57%. And then
let's begin by finding out from you.
So this
tell us more about Dailybot's business model. How does the company make its money?
Fous Stock Exchange, the market was down by 0.65%, and so that's how the markets performed. So you can see there the pattern is of some sort of a seesaw. One day the ZSC is up, the next day it's down, and then vice versa when it comes to the Fous Stock Exchange, where the turnover or the amount of money that changed hands on the Fous Stock Exchange was significant at $80,000 versus 4,700 the previous days in previous days trades. So some of the counters that helped that dragged these VFX down were losses in Axia, First Capital Bank, Insco, Padenga, and Simbisa. All those companies recorded losses. So that's your update for the
thank you, Messi, for that
on
giving
Friday
us the company
and
business model.
Now let's come to the results that you just released. That's the half year to June in 2024 results.
All right, we'll see how it is going to trade today. But remember, you've got questions to do with business. Let them come in on 0719 1004 404. Kudzie, let's look at the earnings forecast. Which company are we talking about today?
Okay, so I think today we can talk about one of the companies that is listed on the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange, and that's Simbisa Brands. It's a quick services restaurant business. So quick services are different to the actual to the restaurants where you get to sit down. I know you can go and sit down at some of their outlets, like some
All right,
of their,
Messi,
of
when
their
we look at
your
business as David Zimbabwe, despite the drought, the group managed to increase its raw milk utilization by 40% according to your results. What strategies were implemented to achieve this growth?
You normally just go and sit down and eat and probably get the doggy bag if you don't finish your food. Yeah. So this that's Simbisa Brands into quick service restaurants. I know a lot of people confuse Simbisa Brands. In fact, they confuse outlets that are owned by or restaurants that are owned by Simbisa. They confuse them with Insco. So Simbisa was demerged from Insco. It's now a standalone company, although the two share common shareholders. We are saying some of the major shareholders in Insco are the same major shareholders in Simbisa Brands. But these are separate companies that can be
food category, which performed well according to what I saw on your numbers.
That's Simbisa Brands.
The beverages category, however, experienced some decline. So maybe you can tell us what factors contributed to this decline in your beverages. Maybe you can also remind us
releasing their final results.
So maybe the products in the beverages
January
category, and then what factors contributed to this decline, and what measures are being taken to address
June this year.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that's their numbers there. So they're telling us that the group closed with the period with 601 company operated counters. So they've got 601 outlets company operated, and then they've got others that are under franchises. So in total they are running about 714 outlets. Yes, that's and remember, when we talk about 714, we're talking about all their outlets within the region. Remember, they are in Kenya, they are in Swaziland, they are in other regional markets, but the biggest markets is Zimbabwe, and then followed by Kenya, and then others that follow.
So the 700 includes all these other countries.
They include all in those other countries. For example, in DRC they closed with 31 counters. In Mauritius rather, they have 12 counters. In Zambia they've got 24 counters. In Ghana 18 counters. Malawi 21 counters. Namibia 7 counters, and 252 in Kenya. And then in Zimbabwe, they have about 300 and roughly above 300 outlets, and they plan to open.
It is 7:45. This is Business Focus. We are talking to the Chief Executive Officer of David Zimbabwe, Messi Ndoro, right here on Capital. Messi, when we look at the group as David Zimbabwe, you recorded a substantial growth in export volume. What are the key markets for dairy exports, and what are the strategies
how many
are to further expand your export reach?
The ones in Zimbabwe, I'm not sure in terms of the split between company controlled and those that are running under franchises. So yeah, they've been opening outlets left, right, and center, and they've been doing. But when you then look at how much they're making, so they've opened all these outlets, but what they call customer count, just this is the number of people who went into their outlets, despite opening new outlets, almost like 52, as there's net of 52, but the number of customers that are going into their outlets only increased by 4%. So you can see there, just by 4%. That's in terms of customer count, which means there is maybe some cannibalization that is happening. For example, any of their products, waenda town, right? And then now they've got another outlet in, let's say, in DZ or in your area. So
Messi,
don't go
we've got a couple of questions that are coming through from our listeners here. There's one that says,
does not the same growth in outlets does not reflect in same
but please,
growth
fun
in
and
customer
fresh
count.
mixed different
However,
flavor
which is good news for them is
why?
that their customer spend
has increased by 4%. That's customer spend by 4%, but customer count by 2%. Customer that we are spend or average spend by 4%, and this customer count by 2%.
So I would have also wanted to find out in terms of the customer spend. Are most of their clients coming in with cash to buy, or they're more of a swipe type of payments?
They didn't share those. That's
those
interesting.
Numbers.
They may see that Deribor is importing from as far as Egypt. Maybe you can tell us in terms of your imports, what percentage level of raw material imports that you import as a company. I know you get some of your milk supplies locally. But what else do you import from
and also to find out how much of their drive-through customers
drive-through. Yes,
because we are seeing most of these outlets coming out. Most of the outlets drive-through, but is it that viable as compared to walk-ins?
Yeah, I think it's something we'll try and get hold of them. If they are interested, then we can actually have them on Business Focus on Wednesday and talk to them. I'll try and find and see how we can get them on radio. But that's I think that's in short. And also just looking maybe just in addition, Tinashe, going forward, they are planning to continue to open new outlets, and this they are hoping that our customer-centric approach coupled with effective marketing and ongoing
you spoke
feedback
about some of the raw materials that you are importing from other countries as well.
Want to do.
When we look at the results, as Deribor Zimbabwe, you face the significant cost pressures due to imported inflation,
they say we
tax changes, and of course exchange rate fluctuations. How did Deribor Zimbabwe manage to maintain profitability despite these challenges?
As it is called now. And they also have 36 counters that are earmarked for upgrades in 2025, and 27 of those are in Zimbabwe. So they plan to upgrade their outlets here in Zimbabwe.
The more they open the branches, is it the more the money coming in? Yeah, it is just a way of trying to split. They are just splitting the market share.
You know, sometimes thank you, Miss, for that one. There are a couple of questions that continue to come in, and I will not mention the product. If you're in business, it's too fine because you can speak about it. But let's look at the numbers. But also, I won't mention the products that people are in terms of revenue, the money that is coming in. In total, of your products, their revenue was 286 some of your products. What could be the reasons why some of your products are not found in the market? But then when you go to their profitability, profit margins were actually lower. When you look at their profit before tax, it was at 21 million.
I'll send them to you later on. Not on air,
so
but I'll send them to you.
Their profit margins are coming off, although their revenues are going up. So that's Mr. Bransley.
All right, so we'd want to maybe have a chance to discuss with them more about all this, and we find out more. 9 minutes before 8 is our time. Kudzie, let's look at economic performance in the second quarter of the year. How is the performance like?
Yes, Tinashe. So the Minister of Finance, obviously they are in charge of of the Zimbabwean economy, and they are in charge of the fiscal side of the economy. So you've got two legs in
so how do you anticipate the impact of the drought on raw milk production in the second half of the year, and of course what measures is Deribor Zimbabwe taking to mitigate the potential shortages?
Side, the monetary policy side, and where it's now the central bank determining the amount of money that is in the economy, the interest rates that are in the economy. And recently we saw the monetary side coming up with measures that they thought would stabilize the economy, and some of those measures include increasing interest rates from about 20% to 35%, also increasing the reserve ratios again to 30%, and so that's the monetary side. Now on the fiscal side, that's which is controlled by Treasury. They also have now released their second quarter.
We've got another question as well coming from one of our listeners who says that retailers have recently accused manufacturers like yourselves of pricing goods using the parallel market rate. How has been your experience getting foreign currency from the formal markets after the introduction of the ZiG? That's a listener asking there.
billion ZiG, 19.8 billion ZiG was collected in the second quarter, compared, which is up from 16.7 billion ZiG that was collected the previous quarter, which is the first quarter. And of that amount, that 19.8 billion ZiG, 18.1 billion ZiG came from tax revenue. So this is how the economy is performing in terms of collecting revenues. But when you then look at that, they are talking about a deficit of 1. So what happened is that they collected 19.8 billion, but then they went on to spend 21.1 billion, which is more than
thank you, Mes, for that one.
It's now the group emphasizes that
cost
normal
reduction as a
just
key
look at
priority going forward. What specific areas are being targeted for
which was even announced by the minister, and when he presented the 2024 national budget back in November, he projected a deficit, but that deficit was of 1.5%. That is their target, I think, 1.5% deficit. However, this particular deficit we have seen in the second quarter is of about 6% deficit, which means that the government is spending more than budgeted for, in my view. And where are they getting this money now to spend? And I think there's been talk already about spending towards infrastructure, spending towards the static infrastructure, and
this is Business Focus right here on Capital. With 6 minutes before 8 o'clock, we are talking to Mesindoro, the CEO of Dairy Board in Zimbabwe.
And where is government getting that money?
We understand that the board has decided
the issuance
to withhold the
treasury
dividend
bills
for the first half of 2024.
So that's how
what factors influence this decision, and when can shareholders expect a dividend payment?
Where is the bulk of the money that treasury is getting coming from? VAT, value-added tax, contributes the most to government revenues, 23.4% coming from that. And then personal tax, yes. Personal tax, 21.6% of that 19 billion we spoke about. 21.6% is coming from personal tax.
And then thank you there, Messi. And then the group plans to fully commercialize its straw manufacturing operations in South Africa. What are the expected benefits of this strategy, and how will it contribute to
I think that's why
organizations
such as CZI recently recommended that if government wants to increase case uses or use cases for ZiG, if government wants to increase, remember that they said QPD, but there were 50% in ZiG, and CZI is saying if it's about corporates only, corporates are not making that much money, so let's even include personal income tax. Let me be allowed to pay it in ZiG, either in full or partly in ZiG. Zvinoita kuti chi makambani esa ari kubhadharira vashandi vavo mataxi inenge yabatirwa vashandi chinzi ndeye taxi yayo, pay as you earn, yobhadharwa in ZiG.
Okay.
And it is no, there are my use cases of taxes.
All right. So let me see, how does Dairy Board respond to this question that's coming up from Mgoma Sem in Manchester in the United Kingdom? It says, morning business operations. Do you have any feedback from the UK Zim Business Expo that took place here in the United Kingdom? I attended the expo but was not fully convinced.
Unfortunately, I wasn't. I didn't get any feedback. I've seen a few tweets by one of the ZIDA chairman, Busisa Moyo, who is also a former CZI president and runs United Refineries here in Zimbabwe. He was there, he presented, and maybe we can get some feedback from him in other shows. We can get feedback from him in terms of what transpired during that expo.
Okay. Another question says, Kudzie, what is the average revenue collection in US dollars for the past 5 years, and does the CRF include proceeds from minerals?
Yeah, so what I can say with regards to that, in terms of those numbers, what I know is our budget for the past 5 years, right? When you convert it in US dollar terms, it is always around 4 billion. Can I talk here at 4.5 billion? Sometimes we don't collect as much. We miss our targets. Probably collect just about 4 billion. But I know Zimra guys might be listening.
Thank you.
They can just send me on my WhatsApp what exactly are the numbers in terms of US. But I know that our budget budget is about 4 billion, and it has been like that communities in areas where you operate. Our economy, and also I'm also interested in just knowing the kind of support that you give to the dairy farmers out there. The minister has tried to also rope in the informal sector to try and get them to also pay taxes, but they've always been an outcry in terms of people saying no, people in the informal sector, they're just trying to make a living and they're not making money, right? But that's 70% of our economy which is in the informal sector. So if you've got a large chunk of your economy not contributing to tax, that's why there isn't any growth. And now you're seeing those formal companies, about companies like listed retailers like Anauke and Pick and Pay, they are losing customers to the informal sector, right? So when it then comes to them paying corporate tax, it's lower. Why? Because they're losing they're losing customers, right? And then when government collects this money now and it wants to use it for whatever in whatever sector, right? But it is collected just 4 billion. It means that they
all right. Thank you so much, Messi, for that. And lastly,
right. So even
a
if you
question
see
that's coming in from maybe a suggestion coming in from Love Moka Shao in Kwazana One, who says, please ask Messi, we need nationwide retail promotions, especially competitions too. What percentage for IMTT tax per government revenue up?
IMTT is now almost like insignificant, even from these numbers. But the last time they reported about IMTT, it was just 3%.
3%.
Yeah. In fact,
all right. Thank you so much, Messi Ndoro, for talking to us right here on Business Focus on Capital as the CEO of Dividend Zimbabwe. We truly appreciate it. It's a great Wednesday. That kind of a percentage.
No, it is significantly lost. Remember, younger contributed double digits at some point. Now it's insignificant.
So
however,
that
as much
has
as
been our Business Focus for today. We've been talking to Dividend Zimbabwe Chief Executive Officer, the only female CEO of a Zimbabwe Stock Exchange listed company, Dividend Zimbabwe. Right here on Business Focus. Thank you so much, Kudzie, for Business Focus for today.
Thank you, international.
Business Focus with Kudzie, Sharara on
and
the
also
Champions
use of
League
cash,
breakfast.
US dollar cash. Remember Zigira, show cash.
All right, thank you so much. Let's hold it here for today. We'll discuss more tomorrow. Thank you so much for the insights coming in from maybe a suggestion coming in from Love Moka Shao in Kwazana One, who says